If my life had a material form, it would be a seat at a table. The places to either side are occupied beyond the horizon. The meal is family style, overflowing platters, crowding into place settings. The dishes are heritage recipes, legacies of decisions, habits, regrets, vows, blessings, secrets. The bowls are wide and shallow, and their contents are jostled and sloshed onto the linen. On my right, my mother is seated between her two sisters. She holds a glass of Franzia, the exact shade of her hair. Her plate meticulously portioned, her attention split neatly between adjusting the hem of her blouse and the calories in the food my grandmother has placed in front of her. To their right, my grandmother is seated, for only moments at a time. She ladles and wipes and carries and gilts and sits, then sips her coffee, surveys the scene. She spies a job to be done. There is no salt. The bowl of wishes is growing empty. A pitcher full of ice-cold pain is dumped in someone's lap, and her chair is deserted again. To my left, my oldest daughter. To her left, her two sisters. To their lefts, their daughters, and beyond them, the faces stretch permanently. I am intrigued and try to catch a better look by leaning back in my chair. The back legs creak as the angle of the floor to my back becomes increasingly acute. My mother notices my precarious lean. Swift and firm, she artfully flicks my right earlobe, and the sting is sharp enough to make the front chair legs drop to the floor. Now I lean forward to gaze accusingly down the row of my mothers. They are mesmerizing, their otherness, their meanness. My left sleeve is yanked in several rapid bursts, hard enough to jerk my collar. Mom, you're staring. It's rude to stare. Her eye roll is majestic, and I am more impressed than offended. My mother's plates grow cold before them. My daughter's fingers pick from the serving dishes unrepentantly. I feel lost, sitting at a table I did not set, with no appetite and far too many roles to play even a single one well. At this table, manners are a mantle, and the pageant never slows. We serve, scold, straighten, scrape, starve, and start the next meal moments after the debris has been cleared. My mother's chair is abruptly pushed back. Her freckles show maroon against her flushed face. Her lotioned and manicured hands crush and then smooth and then wad her napkin up tight, and my throat follows suit. I know what happened. She is silent. If her face were a map, I would turn around. But I'm not navigating. It's too late anyway. My grandmother has spent hours slaving over this meal, using techniques that took a whole life to perfect. Her hands, crooked fingers, crepey skin, iron-knotted knuckles tipped by scarlet nails are weapons and a testament to the rituals of service. My mother has refused a sacrament. This is a slight never taken lightly. My grandmother always said there was nothing she loved more than a crying baby, except for maybe a brown baby. This is the way in which I was given a free pass for my 3 fatherless daughters, their dark skin compensating for my looseness. When my grandmother was in labor with her first child, her mother stood by the head of her bed, looked at her levelly, and said, "Not the same coming out as it is going in, now is it?" My grandmother proclaims her love for crying babies with a wide smile, reserved specifically for children who clean their plates and wailing infants. As a morbidly obese teenager, I sat at her kitchen table on a sticky summer morning. She had just finished frying bacon and moved to scrape it onto my buttered eggs. I hesitantly but firmly refused. She narrowed her eyes, threw the bacon on my breakfast plate, and didn't look back at me. On the return trip to the stove, she hissed, "Well, you're not exactly anorexic now, are you?" Since that meal, nothing has ever tasted so filthy. That same summer, I walked into the farmhouse thick with sweat and tears. My period had brought cramps so intense I thought my body was breaking from the inside out. Looking up from the young and the restless, she silently took in my red face, hands clutching my belly, and nodded. She moved over to the edge of the nubby brown and orange plaid couch and waved me in, and I folded into her arms, sobbing and defeated. She stroked my hair, rocked me, shushed me, told me to be still. She rose, pulled out a set of ancient percale sheets, and took them into the little bedroom. She set a tea kettle to boil, went into the bathroom, and emerged cradling a faded red hot water bottle, a jelly jar with well water, and 2 pills. She watched me swallow the medicine, handed the red rubber hot water bottle, and barked out a set of short, sweet orders. She was empathy personified, her standard of care perceptive and total. There is no pain she pities. There is no illness that impresses her. There is no detail in her mending that is ever left undone. When I rose from my sleep, I walked into the kitchen. My grandmother was sitting at the table, a bowl of potatoes between her knees, the paring knife, a razor crescent in her hands. The sight of her flooded my heart with a deep and wild love, a yearning beyond words. She raises her eyes, sees me barefoot and smiling, and says, "Well, hello, bummer. You look a world better. Fix me a cup of coffee, will you? Get you one, too. Peel these potatoes for me. I have to get the meat on for supper." And so it was, with very little ceremony. My resurrection was complete. My mother says nothing. Her face says enough. My grandmother says nothing. Her back is turned, her forearm set heavily on the table, a wall between them. I say nothing. These women can do more harm to each other than any man ever could. And the eggshells are thick and pungent beneath my feet. At the table of our life, our plates are not for us to fill. They are blessings and sacrifices from our mothers. They are to sustain us, to socialize us, to sabotage us, to keep us in our place, to encourage our rebellion and give us energy for the battle. My mother looks at me looking at my plate. She whispers conspiratorially, "If you don't want it, don't eat it." I look at my daughters waiting to be served. They're hungry and quarrelsome and noisy, and if I don't hurry, the mothers will step in to discipline them and then pile their plates high, too high. The consequence for not cleaning your plate is steep, and they are still so naive. I clear my throat and try to gauge the volume of my voice as it emerges. I don't want to attract unwarranted attention, but I need them to hear me and I need them to listen. Ladies, please, serve yourselves.